everybody. Welcome to Simply Cards by Kathi. Today is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, and I hope you're ready to do some crafting with me. Hi, Mary. Hi, Linda. Thank you for joining. Today is Stamp Together or Craft Together Tuesday, and it is meant to either you can join in and craft. I do post what the measurements and supplies you'll need. 24 hours, sometimes a little bit, 48 hours, so you can prepare. Or you can just watch and make it later. So I hope some of you will join in. Let me know if you're just watching, joining in. Either way, I'm so happy you're here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy that you found me. I hope you like what you see and hit that subscribe button. And if you are with me live, like Mary, Linda, and some others, or you catch me on the replay, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with me. Hi, Diane. Thank you for joining. I hope y'all had a great weekend. I have a fun fold for you, and it's kind of unique. I'm calling it an Interlocking Crossover Gate Fold card, and there are many out there. But I have made a crossover gatefold before, but I always find that sometimes they're hard to stay closed, and they are meant to display. But this one interlocks, and I thought we'd make it together, and I'll show you how to do it. So I am going to flip this camera down, and we're going to get started. Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm using today. I'm using Cheers and Sips. This is a new stamp set. I believe it is in the catalog, and or bundle, I should say. You can buy it separately or as a bundle, and it also comes with paper. And I want to bring that in to show you because some of these dies actually cut images from the designer series paper. I think this is a fun paper. And I'm just going to kind of take you through each piece and show you. This is that new Secret C, and it's a printed background. I think this one is a really fun one with the different bottles and drinks on here and fruits. And if you turn it over, you have a new strawberry slush on the background. So the backgrounds are kind of generic, which are great for contrasting colors. This one is, and we are using this one today. I love Blackberry Bliss, my favorite color. And it is with Berry Burst and Old Olives. So we're going to use that one. And then these you can use to cut out some of these dies. So here is the small glass, and you can cut that out with the die. Here's the larger glass, and you can cut these out. And they just make fun images for you to be able to quickly do some creating. I love the back of this. This is the new cloud cover. And then this one, I did cut some of these out with the dies, but I also think they're very easy to fussy cut. Mary, I know, I love this too. So I am using for my card tonight several of these that I have cut out, and then I'm going to add a few stamped images to them. So just a really fun bundle. Love this, my favorite color. And then you have this floral. And you have the new Timid Tiger on the back. So fun paper. So I'm going to show you the card, and we're going to get started. So this is my interlocking gatefold card. So you can see it does close pretty well. It doesn't just pop up. And it has these three crossovers, two on the left, one on the right. I have a focal point here that actually helps this to interlock because you slide these in and it stays, whoops, and it kind of holds things closed. This card is meant to display. On the inside, I have where I fussy cut the image and stamped some leaves. And here it is. I know that's hard, but this is what it looks like from above. And when you open it up, it's going to display like that. So really pretty. So let's start. So I am using the same stamp set, but I'm using a little bit different color. I did stay with the Blackberry Bliss for part of mine, but I love it because I just love it. But I am using Berry Burst for my card base. So I have cut this. This takes a piece of 8.5 by 11. And we're going to, it's cut to 5 1/4. Now, that's different than 5 1/2. So that's important to remember. So 5 1/4 by 11. And just because I told you, make sure you cut it the right width, I'm going to recheck mine because I'm not so sure that I did. I did. So at 5 1/4, and I'm just going to recheck that. It's cut. Let's make sure. Yep, cut it 5 1/4. Just took a little bit of a titch off there. And we are going to score this. Now we're going to score this at, I'm trimming off a piece of fuzz here. We're going to score this on the 11-inch side, and I'm going to bring this down for you to see. We're going to score it at 1 3/4 and 3 1/2. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, this is one time I pretty much will go through step by step with you because we're supposed to be making it together. And 3 1/2. And then we're going to flip this around and score on the other side the same. So 1 3/4. And then 3 1/2. Okay. All right. Now I don't want to get rid of this too quick, but I am going to move it off to the side. So what we're going to do here is we are going to fold, and I'm going to start at my 3 1/2-inch folds. And I am going to fold a valley fold. So folding in, and here I'm going to fold a mountain fold. Now you do want to use your bone folder and give a good press on these because that really does help your card lay flatter. So again, valley and mountain. Okay, so this is what your card base is going to look like. All right, next, we can do either the inside or our crossover panels. I'm going to do our crossover panels so that you can see how to do those. So we need 3 crossover panels that are 1 3/4 inches by 4. Now I've already cut mine, and I used this piece that's left over to cut those. Unfortunately, it doesn't cut 3, it cuts 2. So you just don't have wide enough to do on each side. So you're able to get 2 out of this and then another piece of scrap if you have it. You're going to get 3 of these by 1 3/4 by 4. And I'm calling these our crossover panels. Okay. Next, I asked you to cut a piece of cardstock, either contrasting or the same. It was up to you. I'm using Blackberry Bliss, and this is 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. This is going to fit right into this middle panel. This panel in the middle here is 4 inches. If you cut it at 4, it's a really tight fit. So I cut it down just 1/8 of an inch and it fits perfectly. And it is meant to fit top to bottom, line up top to bottom with your card base. You also needed another piece of cardstock. It's 3 inches by 3 inches. This is going to be a mat for the front. You needed a piece of white that was 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, which is going to be our focal point. We needed a piece of white for the Blackberry Bliss for the inside. And this one is, what did I do this one? 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. So you're going to get just a little bit of an edge all the way around. We needed a piece of designer series paper, which was an option. Or not an option. We're going to use this to cut. I'm going to show you how to cut this for our crossover panels. And then whatever stamps or die cuts you want to create your focal point. So let's start to put this together. All right, we're going to go back to our card base now. And I'm going to set that off to the side. Now I have my 3 panels, but I also need that designer series paper to go onto these panels. These are going to create our crossover panels. So that piece of designer series paper that I had is 3 3/4 by 4 7/8. We are going to cut into 3 layers. And those layers are going to be 3 3/4 by 1 5/8. So you have 3 3/4 right here by 4 7/8. So we're going to cut our strips this way. Let me bring my cutter back in, my trimmer, and I'm going to bring it down so you can see it. And we already have the length we need, 3 3/4, but we're going to go ahead and cut 1 5/8. So I am going to turn this. My 1 5/8, for anyone that doesn't like ace or isn't familiar, is 2 small lines over to the left of the 1 1/2 mark. So I'm going to cut here and and I'm going to leave these in order. I'm going to cut again 1 5/8 right here. And make sure you know your paper's up against the edge. You know it's going to be straight. So let's cut that. And then my third panel is 1 5/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them in the way I cut them so that they kind of flow just like they did as that piece of designer series paper. Hi, Diane. Thanks for joining. So here's our pieces. Here's my designer series paper. We're going to go ahead and add these using, I'm going to use glue. Feel free to use your tape runner or a Stampin' Seal, whichever you prefer. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this to my panels. So if you're stamping along with me, go ahead, take your time and add your panels, or if you're still cutting them, go ahead and once you're done, just add them to your panel cardstock and we'll get ready to put them on. Now, when I said I was leaving these in order, you can see these match up. So my designs just kind of are going to continue to flow. So that's what I meant by leaving them in order. I kind of like the look of the paper. The design of the paper is a continuous flow. And I want to make sure these line up as best as I can. And so I just kind of keep them right by each other. And because of the glue, I'm able to slide and pull down just a little bit. Okay, next, I'm going to add my third one. I hope you had a good weekend. It was a long weekend here in the United States. We celebrated Memorial Day. I hope you had some time for crafting or some fun and relaxation. I spent a lot of time at the baseball park watching my grandson's tournaments, which I love to watch. But I get kind of wrapped up into the game. All right, so there's your panels. Now, let's go ahead and do our inside, because that's going to be just a little bit easier to tuck this in here without these crossover panels on. So this is my top, my middle, and my bottom. So I'm going to leave them in that order. Now with this, you can do whatever it is you want to do. I'm going to stamp the little greeting from this Cheers and Sips that says, "Let's celebrate." And I thought I'd add one of the cups. Now, I did cut a couple of these out. I also did some stamped images. I am going to stamp one or two. And that's going to be how we decorate. So let's take that "Let's Celebrate" small stamps. And I am going to use Blackberry Bliss for my sentiments. It's a nice deep color. It shows up well, and it's something different than black. So let's stamp that. I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to stamp that right here. And we dropped it, but the ink's off, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I think for this, I'm going to use this maybe this big one. And let's add a leaf to it. So I am going to glue these down. And simply because this card is kind of thick with the different layers. And I don't want to add too much more to it for thickness, especially if you're going to mail it. And I thought it'd be fun to stamp an image. Now I'm going to stamp this little leaf, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp in Mossy Meadow instead of using the Memento ink, because I want the veins in that leaf to be a little bit dark, to be the dark green color. And I'm just going to turn that here. And then I'm going to come in with if I close this, I'm going to come in with some Old Olive, and I'm going to use the dark first. And I'm just going to go ahead along the lines. I'm not being very particular, and I'm just lightly adding some of the darkness to the leaf. And then I'm going to use my light one and just come in and color that in to blend those inks together and add just a little bit of depth to the color. So I love coloring. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I really like working with the Stampin' Blends and just kind of trying new things with them. Now, I thought it'd be fun to take one of these leaves that were die cut and maybe adding it right on here as an overlay to this one. Just maybe adding it like that. So it's supposed to be mint. The other thing you could do is, because it's so small, let's try that. We can use Mini Stampin' Dimensional and just pop that up right over that. And that'll give it just a little bit of dimension on the inside of the card. I realize when I put these on, you can't see it very well because my hands kind of cover up the image. But let's add this right to here and with the cup. All right, now we're ready to attach this to our Blackberry Bliss, our first layer. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to attach this to the inside of our card. If you're stamping with me, let me know. And please let me know if I'm going too fast, because that's the last thing I want to do if you are stamping with me. I don't want this to be stressful for anybody. It should be fun. All right, so there's our inside layer, and you can see I'm going to go ahead and attach it, and it meets the top and bottom of the card perfectly. So let's add this. I do think it's easier to add this before you do the crossovers. I'm going to center that up in there. I'm going to make sure my edges are even, and then just give it a good press. So there's our inside. All right, now we're ready to add our crossover panels. Again, this is the top. Now for this card, I'm going to open this up to attach on my left side, on my left folds. And when you attach these, you want the edge, the left edge, to meet the left edge of the card, and the top edge of this panel to meet the top edge of the fold. So you're only going to put your adhesive in this area, because if you put it anywhere else, this is going to glue closed. So I'm going to go ahead and place that here. And I kind of know where it's going to go. And I'm just going to add glue right around the area where this is going to be. Again, you can use your adhesive. Now, take a minute to make sure that these match up, because if they don't, these crossover panels are not going to fit as well as you would like them to in closing. So here's our first one. Now your second one, we're going to save for this side, because remember, these kind of go in succession. So I'm going to go to the third one, and I'm going to do the same thing on the left side on the bottom as I did on the top. Match up the edge on the side and the bottom edge. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to add some glue here. Okay. And again, going to match those up. And I do pick it up and make sure that I'm edge to edge, because if I'm not, it does not close correctly. This can come over a little bit. It's not matching up the best. There we go. And then once you're sure where it's at, just give it a good press. And this side's done. Now, the key is to fit this right in here. And this fits perfectly in there. They match right up. To attach this to the right side, it's easiest if you close it. Because your placement then is going to be easier to line it up. So again, now you're going to line up this edge on the right with the right edge, and you're not going to go any further than here. Because these panels are down, you know the area you're going to add your adhesive to, which makes this one pretty easy. And then I'm just going to come in over here. Hopefully you can see me. You can. Line up those edges. Make sure it's straight with both the other panels. And then give it a good press. All right. So here is our interlocking crossover for our gatefold. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. You know, when we first started this, when you don't have these interlocking panels on the card, when you have the folds in, you still have an area that's open. You don't have to worry about that because these interlocking panels will actually cover that up. So let's make our focal point that's going to help us keep that closed. So we're going to use our 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 piece of white. And I'm going to stamp some greetings from that cheers and sips. I'm going to stamp the word cheers right up here. And again, I'm going to pull in my Blackberry Bliss. So I'm going to ink that up here. And then I always try to line things up because I don't do anything straight. And a funny story with that is my husband does woodworking, carpentry. It's always been a hobby. Oh, I pressed too hard, so we're going to flip that around. And he was making something for a friend of ours that received an award. He's a detective. And he said, I need you to help me cut these pieces because you're the expert on straight. And I had to laugh and say to him, oh, you obviously don't watch my videos because I'm always saying I don't do anything straight. And he just kind of gave me a second look. I'm going to add It's Your Day. Thinking, oh, maybe I don't want you to help me. But look at that. I'm talking too much. Let's cut another piece, 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. In the end, it came out very nice, and I did cut it straight, but it's, you always are hoping, just like I am now, that I wouldn't have done this. All right, let's stamp those 2 again. And we're going to bring in the Blackberry Bliss and restamp the cheers. And then I'm going to bring in this other one that says It's Your Day. And we're going to add our little cutouts or die cuts. So I thought I would go ahead and add, this was one I wanted to use because it's the Blackberry Bliss. And then I had another one here that I was going to use, but we'll use something else because it's probably under something now. So I thought one would be nice to have right on the panel. Now this panel can come off your panel a little bit because remember you're going to mat it. But if you're not comfortable doing that, go ahead and put this 2 3/4 inch square onto your mat, and mine is the Blackberry Bliss, and you can actually then just do your positioning right on there. Okay, so let's take this and we are going to go ahead and add this. Let's do this one first, and I'm going to glue this one down. Obviously, this wasn't my first choice, but it's a good thing I cut extra. And we're going to add this right on the bottom and a little bit off to the side. And then this one I thought would be fun to pop up, overlapping with some Stampin' Dimensionals. Now I have just my small ones out here, and so I'm going to use those. And let's add this. And because this is just designer series paper, I'm going to give a few extra ones just to give it some support. Now, a lot of times, just another thought, if you don't want to use your designer series paper, if you're using it as a die cut and you're popping it up, another way you can make it a little bit more sturdy would be to cut a second die cut out of basic white cardstock and then just add it to your, add it as a back to your die cut image. And that will give you a little bit of extra strength. I don't want that to hit. Let's put this one on the white edge. All right. And then let's add, I did cut ahead of time a little, I guess it's a sprig of lavender. And I thought it would be fun to add it to the card, to the drink. The one drink that I cut out actually had a piece of lavender in it. And when I die cut it, I had to trim it off. So let's just go ahead and add this. I'm going to add it right across here, just to kind of dress it up a little. And then I'm going to put one dimensional on that very top because it's going to come off the, it's going to come off of the cup or the glass. And I want it to be on the same plane as the glass. So let's do this. And we're ready to add it to our card. So I'm going to bring my card back in. And I'm going to close this up and just look for where to place it. You want it to be in the middle of both sides and on the top and bottom, so as best you can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hold it there and add my glue right in the vicinity where I know it's going to be. I am going to keep this closed and I'm going to come back down and over and just give it a good press so that it's right on that center panel only. And there is your interlock. What helps to hold this is an interlocking crossover gatefold. Now we're going to dress this up a little bit. And I thought it'd be fun to add some Blackberry Bliss or even some of the Berry Burst. And let's see if I have some Berry Burst left. I'm not sure that I do, but we'll see. I think I've used them pretty much all up. So what I did pull out was Blackberry Bliss. These are retired or on the last chance list. They're transparent adhesive back dots. They're one of the only ones we've had that have had Blackberry Bliss gems in a while. So another one with this color is you could use the peach pie. But I'm going to go ahead and use these. And I'm going to put one here. And let's add a small one. Oh, let's add over here. And our third one, I'm not sure. Let's add it right here. All right, so here's our card. And when you open it up, it's going to look like this. And it's going to open and sit like that, up but upright, so that you have a really pretty crossover gatefold card. So let me bring both of these back in for you. So with this one, let's close it up here and slide our panels in. This one I used Blackberry Bliss and Strawberry Slush, and this one was Berry Burst and Blackberry Bliss. So an easy fun fold. Now, I have a PDF tutorial for you with measurements, supplies, and written instructions. I'm going to bring it back to me. That will be ready for you by midday tomorrow. I will post the link to where you can go over to my website, and we'll take you where you can download that PDF tutorial. I hope you'll give this a try. You know, this is a fun fold you can use with any stamp set you have. I just chose to use a new one because I hadn't used it, and I wanted you to see just something you could do with cheers and sips. I hope you have a great week. Stay safe and well. I will see you next Tuesday. If you enjoyed tonight's video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Feel free to share it. It helps me grow my channel. And I can't wait to be back with you next Tuesday. Have a great evening and a great week, everybody.